A quiet night, a small roadside diner, and a storm brewing, both outside and within. Everything seems normal until a group of dangerous men walks in, demanding more than just a meal. The tension rises, thick and suffocating. But what happens when the wrong people try to intimidate the wrong person? Watch as a simple dinner turns into a showdown no one saw coming. Don't miss this intense story. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch more powerful stories like this. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The neon sign flickered against the rain-soaked night as Cena stepped into the small roadside diner. A bell above the door gave a soft chime, and warmth instantly replaced the cold dampness from outside. The scent of fresh coffee, sizzling burgers, and toasted bread filled the air, blending with the faint hum of an old radio playing a slow blues tune. The wooden floor gave a slight creak under his weight as he walked towards the counter, his sharp eyes scanning the modest interior. A few truckers sat hunched over their meals, while near the window, an elderly man rustled the pages of his newspaper. Behind the counter, a young black woman was wiping a table with the efficiency of someone who had done it 1,000 times. Her name tag read Lauren. Her dark curls were pulled back in a ponytail, and though her uniform was neat, it carried the signs of a long, exhausting shift. She looked up as John approached, her brown eyes flickering with curiosity before she straightened up and greeted him with a polite smile. "Good evening, sir. What can I get you?" John returned her smile, his deep voice calm. "Double burger, fries, and a coffee." Lauren nodded, jotting down his order in her notepad. Coming right up, she turned toward the kitchen, but John noticed something in her posture, something that didn't sit right. It wasn't just exhaustion. There was tension in her shoulders, a stiffness in the way she moved like she was bracing herself for something. John slid into a corner booth, stretching his legs as he leaned back. He wasn't looking for trouble tonight, just a hot meal and some peace. But after years in the ring and dealing with the real world, his instincts were sharp. And right now, something felt off. Then he noticed it. Lauren's movements had become slightly quicker, her head tilting towards the door now and then, like she was listening for something. And then, bang! The front door slammed open, the bell above it jangling violently. The air in the diner shifted in an instant. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. 5 men strode inside, their presence alone enough to change everything. Faded leather jackets, heavy boots thudding against the wooden floor, the scent of motor oil and cigarette smoke trailing behind them. These men weren't here for food. John didn't need to turn to Lauren to know she had gone rigid behind the counter. At the front of the group stood a stocky, middle-aged man with graying hair and a deep scar slashing across his cheek. He surveyed the room with the casual arrogance of a man who believed he owned it. His name was Rick, and when his pale blue eyes landed on Lauren, his lips curled into a smirk. Well, Rick drawled, sauntering up to the counter before slamming both hands down on it with a loud smack. "Our favorite little waitress is still here. Thought you'd have learned by now, girl." John caught it, the barely noticeable twitch in Lauren's jaw, the way her fingers curled tighter around the counter's edge. Her voice was steady, but sharp with tension. "Whatever you're here for, I'm not giving it to you." A lanky biker with a chipped tooth chuckled. "Oh, I think you will. You always do, eventually." Lauren's knuckles turned white, but she didn't back down. "This is a business, not your playground." Rick let out a low chuckle, shaking his head in mock amusement. He reached for a sugar packet on the counter, rolling it between his fingers as he spoke. "See, that's where you're wrong," he said smoothly. "This diner? It's in our territory. Which means if you want to keep it running, you pay up. That's just how things work around here." John felt the shift in the air. The tension thickened like a storm cloud about to burst. The other customers in the diner kept their heads down, pretending not to notice. Fear was thick in the air, and John hated that feeling. Lauren's voice was firm. "I told you last time. I'm not giving you a damn cent." Rick sighed, shaking his head like he was disappointed. "See, I don't like that attitude. That kind of disrespect." He looked over his shoulder at his men. "It gets people into trouble, doesn't it, boys?" Chiptooth grinned, stepping forward. Oh yeah. Big trouble. The wiry biker beside him, the one with a tattoo crawling up his neck, suddenly swiped a tray of silverware off the counter. Forks and knives clattered to the floor. Lauren flinched. John's grip on his coffee mug tightened. Rick leaned in, lowering his voice. You either pay or bad things start happening. Windows get smashed. Fires start. People get hurt. Then he reached for her wrist. John moved before he even thought. His hand shot out, grabbing Rick's wrist in an iron grip. A dead silence fell over the diner. Rick's head turned slowly, his eyes narrowing as he registered the pressure tightening around his wrist. His gaze traveled up, meeting John's face. Recognition dawned in his pale blue eyes as he took in the broad shoulders, the massive forearms, and the calm, dangerous look in Cena's expression. One of the bikers whispered, That's John Cena." John didn't move, didn't say a word. He simply tightened his grip just enough to send a message. A warning. Rick chuckled, but there was a hint of unease behind it. Well, damn, he mused. Looks like we got ourselves a celebrity. The other bikers shifted uncomfortably. John's voice was low, controlled. You've had your fun. Now leave. For a moment, Rick hesitated. His pride battled with common sense. The other bikers were already looking to him for a decision. Then something changed in Rick's eyes. The hesitation vanished, replaced by something colder. His lips curled into a smirk. You think just 'cause you're some big-time wrestler, that means something here? He yanked his arm free, stepping back. News flash, tough guy, this ain't the ring. Out here? Your moves don't mean essay. John barely moved as the bikers started laughing, their unease melting away. Rick cracked his knuckles. All right, boys. Looks like we gotta teach our Hollywood friend a little lesson. John exhaled slowly, rolling his shoulders. The fight was coming, and John was ready.